Teacher Arthur here, and for today I'm going to be reviewing certain phrases that you can use if you don't quite understand what someone is saying to you. So in other words, you're having a conversation or someone is speaking to you and there's a sentence or a phrase or even a single word that you didn't quite understand. What can you say to the person to get them to repeat it to you? Now, some of you might feel that asking someone to repeat themselves or asking someone or telling someone that you don't quite understand what they're saying, you're a little bit shy about that and you think it's a bit impolite. Well, what's even worse is if you leave the conversation lingering and not understanding what the person was saying exactly. So there's nothing wrong with clarifying what someone is saying so that you can be clear and fully understand the conversation you just had. Now, there are some phrases that you can use that are very appropriate and also polite to get someone to repeat themselves. Now, not understanding a sentence or a word when someone is speaking to you is quite common, especially if English is not your first language. So we're going to review 3 basic phrases, techniques that you can use to ask someone to repeat themselves, and then we'll be doing a few examples as well. So, number 1 would be simply just to say, "Excuse me, could you repeat that?" Right after the person says the word or sentence that you did not understand, simply interject and say, in a polite tone, "Excuse me, could you please repeat that?" Or, "Excuse me, could you repeat that?" And usually the person will be happy to repeat what they just said. Another phrase you can say, which is very similar: "I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear what you said there." "I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear what you said there," indicating that you didn't hear what the person said clearly, and usually the person will repeat themselves after that with no problems. A second technique or third technique that you can use is to specifically name the phrase or word that you did not understand. Now, this can be a bit tricky because you might not know what that word or phrase is because you didn't understand it. So let's say, for example, somebody asked for a bottle of water, but you didn't understand when they said water. You can repeat that word and say, "What is that?" So, how would that look in a practical situation? Let's use the example of a bottle of water. Someone comes up to you and asks you for a bottle of water, but something about that phrase you don't understand. So, how would that look like in practice? "Good morning. You're right, mate. Could I get a bottle of water?" Water? What is water? "I'm sorry, did you say water?" "Yeah, water. You know, water. Feeling a bit thirsty? Open a bottle of water, take a sip, feel better. Everybody drinks water, mate." Water, of course. Water, water. Yes, you can have a bottle of water. Okay, so that is a third technique that you can use, repeating the word exactly as the person said it, even though you don't understand it. Asking them specifically, "What do you mean by that word? What is water?" Water, and have the person explain. Even if the person appears to get a little bit annoyed or irritated at having to explain themselves, that's okay. We all sometimes get a bit annoyed or flustered if we have to repeat ourselves because we feel the other person doesn't understand. But at the end of all that questioning and answering, it will be clear as to exactly what each of you mean. And that's the most important part in any sense of communication, is clarity, making sure that both parties or all people within the conversation understand what is being said and what is being asked. Okay, so those are 3 different ways you can ask someone to repeat themselves in a conversation if you don't understand what they are saying. Excuse me, could you repeat that please? I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear what you said there. Or asking specifically to repeat a word or phrase. In the example we used, the bottle of water. Cheers, mate. Thank you for the water. Until next time, this is My English Voice.